Hey everybody. So this project formally started like 10 years ago. When I started my original channel, I asked my parents for a video capture card. My parents bought me the Pinnacle Dazzle, which at the time was the hottest capture card on the market. Could do up to like 480p. I think part of the reason why they were even on board with the idea was because when I pitched the idea for YouTube, I also told them that I could use the capture device to convert all of my mom's old VHSs into DVDs. That never happened. A much younger me attempted it quite a few times, but I never felt like I got the settings quite right, so eventually I just gave up. But realistically, all of my old videos from YouTube when I was in high school are terrible quality because that's what I use. So for a few years, that idea went dormant, and I didn't really think about it much until a recommended video popped up in my YouTube feed talking about the capabilities of the Magnavox DVD VHS combo. But it's not just any DVD VHS combo. It's this Magnavox right here. So when I bought this, I want to say like 5-6 years ago, it was like 150 bucks. If you look these up now, they're upwards of $700-800. So this is kind of like a relic. I mean, it's pretty awesome, the technology that this has, where you can put a VHS in one side, put a blank DVD in the other, and have it write it over for you automatically, which honestly is pretty sought after these days. I mean, that's why they're going for $800 now. So like I said, I bought this for my mom, I think right before I left for college. So sadly, we never used it for its actual intended purpose. But you know, over time, these mechanical miracles, they start to degrade and break down. And so when I pulled this out of my mom's closet and I dusted it off to test it out, the DVD player worked just fine, but the VHS side, it would eat the tape. So that brings us to the present day. And this little device right here, the Unedited GV USB 2. And that is the only words in English on this box. So I have to back up a little bit before I explain how I came to be the owner of this device. I went down a rabbit hole and I stumbled upon a video talking about how VCRs work. Maybe it's the engineer in me, or maybe it's just the fact that I'm stubborn, but I had convinced myself that if I could take this entire thing apart and clean it, I could probably fix it. So that's exactly what I did. The VCR builds up dust and grime over time, especially on some of the electronic parts. One main pain point is the mode switcher, which actually controls how fast the VCR does playback and how fast it can record. Normally the VCR has 3 different operating speeds. Slower speeds means there's more footage overall, but at a lower quality, and higher speeds, which is known as standard play, means there's less footage, but at a higher quality. The switch is actually in between the main carriage and the circuit board, so you have to take the entire VCR apart to get to it. What happens is the switch gets stuck in the wrong position and causes the VHS to play for maybe a second or two and then stops. And since that was exactly what was happening with this VCR, I decided to tackle that first. So after cleaning that off, and then cleaning all the spindles where the tape would rest while it's playing, and then cleaning the laser array just for good measure, I put it all back together, and after a couple attempts, I was able to get the VCR to play my copy of Home Alone 2. The only problem is that the VCR is a little hit or miss for when it wants to work. Great for your living room, where you can have it eject a couple times and it will work eventually. But with some 50 odd home videos that I need to convert, I don't think that this will be the best plan to move forward with. So that's where my other VCR comes in. We bought an Emerson VCR DVD combo about 6 months ago at an estate sale. And after giving it a tune-up, just like I did this VCR, it works exceptionally well. The only problem is that this VCR only plays VHS tapes, as it doesn't have the ability to convert them to DVDs like the Magnavox does. So I went down the YouTube rabbit hole once again, and I went back to the idea of capture cards. I knew my Dazzle wouldn't cut it, and at this point, I'm not too sure where it even is. But I did recall that one of my friends growing up had a nicer capture card than I did, and he used it to record Xbox 360 gameplay, and it looked way better. It was a Hapage, and I only remember because just the weird spelling and that I could never pronounce it. And then after looking some more on YouTube, I came up with these 2 videos by the same creator. And while I really wanted to find the ATI 600 capture card that he mentions in his video, I was unable to find anything on eBay or any other sites in Europe or Japan. So that's when I went looking for the side grade alternatives that he mentions at the end of his video. I looked at several forums to see if I could make a decision between the Hapage USB Live 2 and the Unedited GV USB 2. And I'm not gonna lie, I did have a small bias toward the Hapage just because I recognize the brand. But after really digging into those forums and watching a few YouTube videos on how to install each one, I ultimately decided to go with the Unedited GV USB 2. The Hauppauge has some limitations on what operating systems you can use, and so while I could sideload Windows 7 or maybe even Windows XP on my machine to get it to work natively without having to do any weird tweaks, the Unedited actually has Windows 11 drivers, which funny enough, one of the videos that I watched explaining on how to install it, the guy was talking about how everything was in Japanese, but he didn't know you could just go to Google and hit translate for me and the whole page is in English. And so I went and did that before I bought it just to double check. And you do have to put the serial number to download it, but just to look at it, I was able to verify that it does have Windows 11 drivers, which is amazing. So now let's talk about the actual recording process. This isn't as easy as just plugging the I/O data into your computer, clicking one button, and bam, you have your file. You have to actually play the content on the VCR, plug the VCR into your I/O data, plug that into your computer, run recording software on your computer to record your VCR. But luckily, I come from the old YouTube era where we used to do this all the time. The first VHS I'm going to work on here is this tape that has videos from Christmas 2001 and my second birthday. As you can see, it is currently playing on the VCR, going straight into my desktop via the Unedited GV USB 2 and then being recorded by OBS. Back in the day, you would use a few of these RCA splitters to split the signal. One would go into your PC to be recorded, and then one would go to your TV for you to see everything in real time. But since my sole focus is converting these tapes, the signal is only going to my computer. Now that the footage has been recorded, we can drop it into Premiere Pro and upscale it a little bit. The first thing you're going to want to do is go over to your sequence settings, make sure that's at 60 FPS, and then you can increase your pixel density, but make sure you keep the aspect ratio at 4:3 so that the footage doesn't look distorted. I went over to my effects panel and looked for the low pass filter. I added that because there was a high pitched whining noise in my footage, and it could be because the VCR is old, not performing well, or it could just be that the cables are picking up some sort of interference. But nonetheless, I added a low pass filter at 7000 Hertz, and that got rid of that high pitched whining. In addition, you want to clean up the beginning and end of the footage. At the beginning, it had this black screen with the play on it, and I really liked the way that looked, so I left it as is. But at the end here, you can see that there's a lot of blue. That's because once the tape ended, it just switches back to blue. So I went to the last frame that actually had footage and cut the rest of it out. Once you're done with all of that, you can go ahead and export it. Now that I was able to convert one of these VHS tapes to digital, I only have to do like 49 more. I will say that it was a little bit of trial and error to get the settings right in OBS and on the I/O data, but I feel like I was eventually able to get some pretty good results. If you want more information on how I service the VCR, there'll be an unlisted video linked in the description that has the entire teardown process at normal speed. Also in the description will be the settings I used in OBS to record the footage and what adjustments I made in Premiere Pro to clean up the footage. But most importantly, I want to thank all of you for coming along on this journey with me that I started almost 10 years ago. Peace.
No, we can't open it. Gordy! Mary, did you open your package that I got you?
Did you even open mine?
No. Yeah. Gordy, come here, buddy. I don't feel Valerie, did you open your package?
No, not yet. I want to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
First, okay?